Get ready, get ready.
Disaster comes from the Latin, meaning ill-starred, and you can see, looking back at the history of the word even, how from the very beginning we have looked at disasters as acts of bad, horrible luck.
I don't think I'm prepared at home.
Tell us what you do at home to prepare.
Well, not much.
We did a poll for Time magazine a few years ago, and we found that more than 50% of the country had been affected by a public emergency of some kind.
What kind of things do you have to get you ready in case an emergency should happen right now?
We're unprepared for an emergency.
Yes. I know. I personally am not as prepared as I would like to be.
I know where the doors are.
We also asked a hazard geographer to look at the landscape, and she found that 91% of Americans live at moderate to significant risk of some kind of disaster, anything from flooding to terrorism.
We just never think it's going to happen to us.
They haven't experienced an emergency themselves.
We don't have hurricanes up here. That's what I like to believe.
We are trying to survive in dense vertical civilizations near water, which is very dangerous in a new kind of way.
Tell us why you choose to live on the water knowing that an emergency could happen.
Because I can.
Because we have to now figure out how to evacuate those places very quickly. So about 80% of people now live in or near cities.
Do you have things ready?
No,
Why not?
I just don't think of it.
As many services as we have to offer, and as wonderful of a society we have with services to the general public and to our population, I think that also gives a false sense of security.
Probably call 911 or whatever, I could do that, but that's about as far as it goes with us.
Community members are wise to minimize their need or their dependency to rely upon the 911 emergency response system.
There is only a finite number of police, a finite number of firefighters, and a finite number of paramedics out there to serve.
I don't think they have the resources to save everybody.
On a normal day-to-day basis, we're stretched. In a disaster, we're going to have to ration our services even more.
There are 4 basic components in encouraging citizens to prepare. The first is get informed. It's important for citizens to get good quality, accurate information locally when we're experiencing an emergency.
Well, keeping our viewers and folks that watch Channel 69 WFMZ in tune with what's happening in our world around us is our absolute top #1 priority. There's folks in the building working 24/7 to make sure that any type of news that needs folks to act or react is at the forefront of our priority.
Persons who have a limited English proficiency really may face challenges during an emergency, and it's very important to be connected to individuals who can help you understand what you actually need to do should an emergency occur in your home or in your neighborhood.
For information that requires immediate communication, we have the 11 p.m. newscast. It's basically Edición en Español. We provide information. It's a half-hour live newscast for Spanish-speaking viewers in the area and the region.
Smoke is the main event in so many disasters, and of course in every fire.
If you're escaping your home during a fire and your house is full of smoke, you're going to have trouble breathing, and the smoke is so thick and dark it's going to blind you, and it's going to burn your eyes, so you're going to have your eyes shut anyway.
One inhalation of smoke will render you incapacitated. People don't die in fires from being burned. People die from inhaling the smoke, and they also die from inhaling the superheated air.
I'm always afraid, what am I going to do if a fire breaks out? We can't use the elevator, so the firemen know to come and get us, because I can't get myself out of bed.
What do you do if I'm not here? How would you get out?
That's one of our biggest concerns. Could we get everyone out on time?
The second component is to make a plan. It's important for all members of your family to have an emergency response plan.
I'm out talking to viewers and we're maybe chatting about preparedness and being prepared for any type of emergency, whether it's weather or any other type of civil emergency of any kind. And I ask them, you know, tell me a little bit about your plan. Most times they don't have a plan in place.
Now thinking about it, but we don't.
It's a comprehensive document that spells out what you're going to do in case a disaster strikes your area. You need to have what phone numbers you're going to contact, who's on your emergency contact list, where you're going to meet, what you're going to do if you're not in the area, how they're going to communicate. All the important items that need to be listed.
It's very important for those people in our community who are especially vulnerable to take the measures necessary to keep themselves safe ahead of an emergency.
And my biggest concern is the transportation. That is one thing that I have no control over.
There is a great deal that they can do and should do to prepare themselves.
Your personal support network, your family, your friends, the agencies that provide assistance, talk to them, find out what their evacuation plans are, what they can do for you in an emergency.
They need to contact us. If somebody has a problem, either they're vision impaired or hearing impaired, they need to get to our emergency management staff.
What is the capability of this individual? Do they understand the signs of disaster? Can they, use a telephone or a cell phone? Are they able to perform these simple procedures that many of us take for granted?
Many of us have oxygen, whether we wear it all day or all night. That would be a real concern should the electric fail, because we do not have a backup generator.
If you're in a motorized wheelchair, having a spare battery for it, making sure that things are charged.
I usually try to charge mine each evening, so that no matter what comes the next day, I know I'll have enough power.
Allentown is making great strides to make sure that all our residents have access to public safety. Whether it's people with disabilities, residents with language barriers, we're doing our best to make sure that everyone is included in the process.
The addition of limited English proficiency for some people, especially an elderly, that creates a challenge for us. We need to bring in some of our Spanish-speaking officers or officers who speak another language.
The one thing you don't want to do in a disaster is think.
Any kind of disaster plan, you're not going to have to think about it. You're not going to have to gather the family and look at, what are our options and what do we have to do. You just do it.
When it actually occurs, you want to avoid the chaos, you want to avoid the panic. You want to be able to know exactly what you're doing, what direction you're heading, how to get there, how to accomplish it.
You'll never have a disaster that occurs as you've drilled. What it does is you drill for common sense and looking at your environment and trying to figure things out on the fly. The people who choose not to go to the drills will be at a huge disadvantage.
If you practice something, it's easier for you to react with that same amount of confidence, the same amount of discipline.
The first time you're faced with a problem or handling it, there's a tremendous amount that you can learn from that experience. So drills and training get you to look at how you handle a situation, how you can do it better.
If you've given yourself something to work with, your brain will default to that behavior and will work very well.
You might be nervous in a crisis, but your body is going to function because you continually practice something.
What do your dogs mean to you?
My life? I have 5 birds. They're like children.
It's a fact that 1 out of every 4 American homes have a pet. And usually it's not just an animal, it's actually part of the family.
What does Milo mean to you?
Everything. He's basically a child to me.
I'm a pet lover. We have 5 dogs, horses, and I can't imagine leaving them. So I can put myself into somebody else's position where they have a dog or a cat, a hamster. It doesn't matter. It's a member of the family. And they need to rescue that member of the family as well.
What do you have in place that all of you would be able to get out?
I don't think we do.
So we want to be sure the dog has his license, which has his name and our phone number, his rabies vaccination tag, and also his tag for Northampton County on his collar, and his collar needs to be on him.
I would stay out of the shelter with my dogs. Maybe you wouldn't, but I would.
The third level of preparedness is to build a kit. It's important for you to have an emergency kit in your home that pertains specifically to your family and your family's needs.
Do you stockpile food or water or any of those kind of things?
No, I don't. Everyone can do something. It can be as simple as making a plan, getting your kids involved, getting basic foodstuffs in your house, having the supplies available.
What would you say to other moms out there your age who maybe haven't done anything and live day to day? Why is it important to prepare?
Because emergencies come unexpectedly.
Have already an emergency pack already put together of things that will not spoil.
I always have water, Always have food in the house. To me, that's common sense.
Have you put together an emergency supply kit? No. Actually, I didn't know that would be a good idea.
My name is Mary Chunko, and this is my husband, George, and my specialized child, Sheila Chunko. In case of emergency, your main concern is Sheila's medicine. We always make sure we carry the medicine with at all times, and we also carry her favorite toy. Favorite stuffed animal has to be in the bag. This is a Mickey button. This is the thing where is her lifeline. This is where she eats. She can only eat nothing by mouth. It's only a G-tube. Syringes. These are to administer the food through the Mickey. My daughter's medical information. It's all in here.
In case of an emergency, I always have our prescriptions handy. We have a very handy sign that we can put in the window if we have a problem. Try to keep extra water for us so we can take our medications.
A lot of people with hearing impairment use cell phones with text messaging capability, now email. Pen and paper, it definitely is needed if the hearing aid shuts down. Definitely extra batteries because they don't last long. Flashlight on you to communicate.
Today we're focusing on our son Michael. We're starting out with size 1 diapers, which are what he's in now. We've got some jars of baby food. We have lots of these. We're hoping for at least a 3-day supply. Just a spare bib if he's messy like his old man, or a gel. He will start teething one of these days, and just to make sure we're ready.
Some special food concerns for babies include formula, and even though our little one is primarily breastfed, we're packing up the formula because she and I might be separated during the emergency.
First aid kit, we have batteries, we also have toothpaste, Tylenol, and we also have items that cannot go bad over a period of time, especially canned items such as beans, cheese.
Soap.
We have soap.
Here's where I keep all my medications. Take all the extra keys with you as well, and put them like in a pouch so that you don't lose anything.
I have a degenerative retinal disorder. I'm completely blind in the dark and have limited vision during the day. If I would have to leave for an emergency, I would need to have my white cane, which helps me to navigate around and also shows other people that I am visually impaired. I would need my guide dog and things that go along with her. I would need a flashlight to be able to let other people know that I need help, and my cell phone to call for help.
This is from the World Trade Center stories. I have some flat shoes. You know, women were 2 times more likely to get hurt in the Trade Center because they're wearing heels.
First thing that I have for my dog is her favorite toys so that she will at least have some kind of comfort that she's familiar with. A supply of dog food to take on the road with us, as well as a collapsible food bowl. What's really important is having a pet first aid kit. And in that are going to be things like antibiotic ointment, gauze pads. Here is a copy of her records, and should we ever get separated, pictures of her as well as pictures of she and I together.
The fourth component of preparedness is to be connected. To connect to your family, to your neighborhood, to your emergency response system in your community, and to know those connections and establish those connections prior to an emergency.
You have a responsibility to take care of yourself, to take care of your family, to take care of your neighbors, to take care of those in the workplace.
We could really learn a lot from communities that have resisted, for whatever combination of reasons, the sort of forces of modernity that, while great in many ways, have also made us less resilient. So the Amish is a great example.
Most of them would be better prepared in a way than the general population because they're so accustomed to living in a community where they know all their neighbors. There's also a very strong belief that you must help your neighbor, no matter who the neighbor is. If their neighbors have an accident, they're the first there to bring food and to ask, can we help with the yard work or whatever.
People are bred with this idea of service from
from youth on up, I ask many of our volunteers, well, why are you volunteering with MDS? And they'll, well, isn't it what you're supposed to do? Or isn't it what somebody else would do for me?
The Nickel Mines Amish, the school shooting, and where a man had come into the school and he let all the boys go, but he kept all the girls behind, and then he ended up shooting 10 of the girls. 5 died within 24 hours or so, and 5 others were injured, and then he killed himself. It was just amazing how quickly the right people got together. You know, it starts with the church leaders and people involved, and then the whole community, all of a sudden, there they are, and they start saying, well, what do we need to do? And somebody says, well, they'll need somebody to milk the cows tonight, and so somebody volunteers.
There's so much you can do to help. If you're a non-medical person, just a regular run-of-the-mill person, and there was some sort of disease epidemic, a pandemic flu or something like that, well, we're going to probably open up some sort of clinic where we're going to give out prophylaxis or vaccine, and we're going to need people to help us bring that vaccine into the building. We're going to need people to help with line control.
SERVPA is the State Emergency Registry of Volunteer Health Professionals. It is a way for people to volunteer and to identify their skills and abilities that they could provide and assist with during a disaster.
We'll need people of varying backgrounds and varying degrees of skills and knowledge to help us really pull this off.
Help! Look out, baby, here I come.
It'd be nice to say we can save everyone all of the time, but unfortunately that's never true.
Don't be dumb. Be prepared for any kind of situation that comes upon you.
If you're not prepared before something happens, then once it already does,
Your life is fragile.
there's only so much we can do.
Because if you've got something worked out beforehand,
You have to be ready at all times.
then all you have to do is repeat the drill.
If you strengthen communities,
I want to stay alive.
You can survive anything.
The likelihood of your successful surviving a bad incident
You can't just, wait for it to come.
is all determined on the plan you have before the incident.
Puts not only the first responder, but also the citizen more at ease.
Be prepared.